Hello friends! Welcome to episode 2 of Leaner with Laura. So, in today's episode, we are going to be talking about the best types of foods to eat for fat loss, why these are the best types of foods, and what happens if you do not eat these foods. Da, da, da. I'm also going to be throwing a little bonus tip in at the end of this video with a little trick I use to prevent myself from falling off track, and I give this tip to my clients and it's helpful. It's helpful. So keep on watching and you will get all of the tips. Whoop, whoop. Okay, so one of the biggest things holding people back from seeing results and staying on track is hunger and cravings. So, what you want to do is choose foods that keep you full and therefore decrease cravings. That's it. That's pretty much all we need to know. The video's done. Just kidding. Well, that is the basics of the basis. That's like the basic level of these fat loss foods. So obviously these foods aren't gonna just somehow make you burn way more calories, but if they are keeping you fuller, then you're gonna have an easier time sticking with a caloric deficit. So what are these types of foods? So I don't know why I just yelled there. Foods! What are the foods? So they're things that are high in protein, high in fiber, and just high volume foods. So if you look at 200 grams of, or not 200 grams, 200 calories of broccoli compared to 200 calories of peanut butter, the broccoli is so much higher volume. With 200 calories of broccoli, that is a friggin' large ass amount of broccoli. Unfortunately, 200 calories of peanut butter is really not a large amount of peanut butter. It's like a mouthful. So obviously that makes the broccoli more filling because you're eating all this food and it's just stretching your stomach, which signals your brain to feel full. Whereas if you have your little 200 calorie peanut butter, you're probably not going to really feel that full. So that is one aspect of a fat loss friendly food. It's a higher volume food. Now, running with the broccoli, you also want to have high fiber foods because fiber also fills you up more. So again, something like a vegetable like broccoli with high fiber is going to fill you up more than a vegetable with less fiber that's more water-based like cucumber. Obviously that's not to say, oh, don't eat cucumbers, they're not good for fat loss, but you want to make sure you have a nice balance of higher fiber veggies and then veggies like cucumbers. They aren't as high fiber, same as like celery, just stuff like that. And the third type of food that's really, really helpful with fat loss is high protein foods. Your body requires protein to function, so if you're not eating enough protein, your body's gonna desire it and you're just gonna keep feeling hungry. So you wanna be eating protein, eating enough protein, and obviously that can be a variety of foods, things. I have another video with tips on how to eat enough protein, so before I just like ramble on about that forever, you can also watch that video. It's gonna be in my info box. Yeah, so protein. So high fiber, high volume, high protein foods are going to keep you full and make you feel more satisfied, and therefore you're gonna less likely have cravings that are really hard to stop. Because if you're starving and never satisfied, obviously cravings are a lot harder to deal with. So now we're gonna show a little example of that, because last week, if you missed it in last week's episode, I showed you how I planned the meals for my week, and then I didn't end up having an ingredient or a food. So I ended up eating some foods that were not in the characteristic of the above foods, of the above things I just explained. So in place of some foods that were meant to be high protein or high fiber or high volume, I had to eat something else. So let's go see what that looks like. Roll the tape. Okay, so if you guys didn't see in the last episode, my first big meal was supposed to have protein bread, but I didn't get to go get it. So instead, I'm having 1.5 English muffins. So that's actually going to be a little bit less calories than the original plan because the protein bread was 220 calories and the English muffin is 180. So now that's fine, obviously. I just have extra calories for later. So remember that even when you're planning everything out, you can still have some flexibility within that. It's not like, oh my god, I didn't have my protein bread, now I'm gonna eat so bad. And then I also have broccoli in the microwave. That's what that sound was. So yeah. So that last clip shows us two things. One is that even if you can't stick perfectly to something you planned, it doesn't mean the day is ruined. You simply just replan and keep going. And then the other part is that you can lose fat with any types of foods, but certain kinds are more filling than others. So as you guys saw, I had an English muffin instead of a protein bread, but I also, on other days in the week, sometimes I had white bread. It was like toast, obviously. And those foods are fine. There's nothing wrong with them. You can still lose body fat, but because they are not as high fiber as my protein bread, because the protein bread I eat is higher in fiber and higher in protein, so that's gonna fill me up for longer than something like just plain white bread, because that doesn't have that fiber. So that's kind of what you want to keep in mind. So because right now I'm starting off in just a very mild deficit and I have a lot of calories to work with, I don't need to be as meticulous about making sure I pick really filling foods because I have a lot of calories anyways. But if I was eating like 1,600 calories, that's when I would really want to focus on the high volume, high protein, high fiber, even more so because the calories are lower. I want to feel fuller. I want that amount of calories to go a long way in terms of feeling satiated. So now we are gonna go and look at some staple foods that I like to keep on hand to ensure success. So let's go. Okay, so the staple protein sources I usually have is tuna, egg whites in a carton, eggs, protein pancakes, and shrimp. This is really nice and easy because it's already cooked, so all you have to do is defrost it. And I forgot, protein powder, woohoo! Okay, and then for veggies, I always have some frozen veggies, so it's usually broccoli. That's just like a good staple because, as I've mentioned, it's like super filling and it actually has a decent amount of protein for a vegetable. And then I really love this little thing, summer blend. It's like, what is it? Red peppers, yellow peppers, asparagus, and carrots. And then there's this bean and carrot medley. So again, so quick and easy because you just got a microwave, ba-bam, that's it. Okay, so here's the protein bread I was talking about. I think this is only in Canada, so any store that has like PC Blue menu, you can probably find it in the bread section. So that's like my favorite because it's super filling and it's how many 12 grams of protein and 5 grams of fiber. So that's something I usually have on hand. This is a nice, quick and easy thing to eat. Microwave rice. And then sometimes I don't eat them super often, but beans can be just a nice, easy. It's not super high in protein, but it does have protein, and then you're getting fiber. And then I always like to have avocado to go with my toast, and I usually have olive oil sometimes to add to veggies. And edamame is another staple, but I actually don't have any right now. And oats are a good one too. And then there's things that I'll get sometimes, like these low-cal noodles are so good, and they're only 25 calories, and they also have some fiber as well, so that is pretty cool. So some other staples that I did not show is peanut butter, frozen fruit. I really like frozen raspberries. Greek yogurt is another staple. You just want stuff that's quick and easy. That's it. And then that way, like, even if you don't necessarily do a big prep on the weekend, it's stuff that's pretty easy to just kind of like run out and get and throw together. So those are my essential foods that we always got in house. Okay, so now we're talking about our little bonus tip to help you stay on track easier. So I know from myself and with clients, a lot of the times you're inclined to fall off if you've gone a long stretch of time and you're feeling very hungry and then you still have to wait longer for your food. Like, for example, you're stuck in traffic on your way home, and then by the time you get home, you don't have patience to wait for your food to cook or heat up or whatever, and somebody in your house ordered pizza, so you just eat it, and that's it, because you were so hungry. It made it so much harder to resist the temptation. I said that weirdly. Resist the temptation. Another example is if, say, you go out to run errands and you take longer than expected, and then you end up starving, and then you either end up having to buy food that's a little bit harder to fit into your daily intake, or again, you get home and then just grab anything you see and you end up overeating because you're so hungry and you can't stop. So a really convenient thing is to just always be prepared with some quick, easy snacks. So I will usually prepare a very large amount of broccoli for my breakfast, and lately I've been just saving some of it for later in the day as a random snack. So in this clip that's showing up, that is exactly what I did. I went to a sensory deprivation tank, and I knew that I probably was gonna be pretty hungry after, and I know other times, this is another thing, you wanna look back at previous times you've fallen off. So I remembered that other times after like floating in the tank, being all relaxed, I went home and I was just hungry and I was too tired to prepare food, so I just like fell off track. So this time, I wasn't gonna let that happen. So let's take a little look. Roll the clip. So I just finished in a sensory deprivation tank. If you guys don't know what that is, basically it's a tank of water and you float in it, and it's basically just takes away all your senses. Like, yeah, so it's relaxing, it's good for your mind, it's good for your body because the water is like all magnesium. But anyways, so that's an hour long, and even before that, I didn't have time to eat because I had a bunch of client consultation calls. So this is where pre-planning comes in handy, because a big thing with staying on track and not slipping up is like you kind of want to manufacture your day so it's easy to stay on track and so that it's not so much willpower involved. So, for example, to my float, I have a little Tupperware of some of my food from my first meal that I didn't actually finish. So it's, yeah, so I have my broccoli and my eggs because I am doing that to prevent arriving at home and being so starving that I just lose control and eat everything. This is a big thing I'll get sometimes from clients. They'll say, oh, I was saving calories, or not even necessarily saving calories, they'll just say I had a long stretch of time throughout the day where I didn't have food, and when I got home, I was so hungry, like I didn't care, I just had the pizza that my boyfriend ordered, or my family, or whatever, and then they're like, it was just hard to keep it under control because I was so hungry, and then by that point, I still just kept feeling hungry, and then I just fell off, and I can totally relate, which is exactly why I have this right here, because if I got home from this float, and I was starving, like I would do exactly that. I would start snacking on other stuff while my food's eating, and while that's okay if I'm tracking it, it doesn't always go that well. This is not gourmet food, but I have more fun meals planned later, so I don't really care that this is just like cold cooked broccoli and cold egg whites, because like later on I have exciting food. So it's not like this whole day I'm depriving myself. It's not that bad though, there's cheese. So, moral of the story is, to stay on track and to reach your goals, it's more so like designing your day to make it harder to fall off track. Because I mean, if you've just eaten a bunch of broccoli and egg whites, you're not gonna feel like ravenous in a way that you are gonna like lose control. Like you still might even end up snacking a bit, but it wouldn't be to the same extent. So that is it. That is all I have to say for today. Bye-bye. So there's two main things that we want to take away from that little clip slash this little section of the video. And one is to just be prepared. Be prepared. You know, like the Lion King. Be prepared with like snacks, just little things to decrease your hunger. Like, they don't even necessarily have to completely take it away, and it might not even completely prevent you from falling off, but at least it will decrease the frequency of it happening and decrease the severity of the situation. So there's that. And then it's also to pay attention to your habits and your actions and look back. And like every time you fall off track, think like, okay, what was I doing a little bit before that? How was my day going? How was I feeling? Blah, blah, blah. And then you can try and figure out things to do to decrease it from happening so often, or just stop it altogether. So those are the little important things. You always gotta be thinking like, what happened? What did I do? What can I do to prevent it? So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next video. We're gonna be talking about cardio and some of the biggest myths about cardio. So you don't wanna be making these mistakes because it's not gonna get you to the goals you want. So stay tuned. Next week, that episode's coming out. It's gonna be a good one. And that is it. I hope you guys liked this video. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!